Why am I wearing shorts and why am I sitting on my balcony with my Traeger grill next to me? Well, because today's topic is how to get stuff onto this grill. Hey guys, welcome to the High Ground. My name is Fabio, and today I'd like to share an experience with you that I had just yesterday, and it's my first time fishing. So we have the Pentecost weekend now. For my US friends, it's a Memorial Day weekend. And I was invited by a friend from our church to actually go fishing with him. Now, from my background, I was always very much into getting my own food out in nature. I'm actively hunting since well over a decade, and I'm from a more or less hunting family, but I was never really in touch with fishing. Now, to be honest, the skill threshold that you need to have in order to become a successful hunter, right? And I would by no means say that I'm a good hunter. I'm just a fair hunter and I can make sure that there is no unnecessary animal suffering. But the threshold to really get into hunting is, in my opinion, pretty high. You really need somebody who knows what he or she is doing, that takes you by the hand and introduces you to hunting. Or in other countries like Germany, Austria, also Switzerland, you have to take fairly prolonged courses. For example, in Switzerland, it's a 3-year ordeal until you get actually to hunt. In Germany, it's a 1-year course, so it's a quite substantial investment of time. And I feel that fishing, although to make this clear, I always have the goal to make it as painless for the animal as possible, does not have such a high threshold when it comes to the entry barrier is not as high. Let's phrase it like that, because I know that there is a skill with fishing. So I went fishing yesterday for the first time. And before we get into my conclusions and what I think and also why I did that, let's check out how that went. Okay guys, so I will try to make it quick. I'm just packing my backpack. As said, I have no clue what to bring because I don't know how to fish, but I guess I will learn a good deal about it today. And yeah, some knives, something to drink, and more or less that's it. Let's head out to the lake. The first thing we get from the park administration is a bucket of ice, and then we take all our gear and actually walk over to the water. The area is not a fish farm, but it's made for beginners in order to get them to fish. And of course, I have no clue, so Andrin is actually showing me how to fix the bait to the fishing rod, because, yeah, I have no idea how to do that. So that's me casting the line, and I'm not really doing a good job in pretending that my bait is actually something natural that a fish wants to eat. But I mean, it's still my first time, and Andrin came to my help. And I guess this is how it actually should look like. And indeed, with that bit of help, it actually happened. So, of course, I don't have it on video because I was fishing, but I just caught my first fish, and it's this bucket here. It's a pretty big one, and yeah, awesome first fish. Yeah, we will continue to fish now, and I'll keep you posted. So, what you do here in Switzerland if you catch a fish is basically you have this one, and you just knock him unconscious, and then you just cut through the gills to sever all the big arteries and stuff, and have the fish bleed out, and so it's a more or less painless death, as painless as it can be. There we are. Okay, so as you could see, I actually caught my first fish. We went after trout and pike, and I managed to catch a trout. It was 550 grams. I will put somewhere below what's that in ounces. And so, yeah, I'm fairly happy. I have my first fish to put onto the Traeger. Now, why would I want to start fishing? Well, as I said, first of all, for me, it's a way to be out in nature with a certain purpose. But it's also a way to be more self-reliant. And self-reliant not only in well, in a prepper way, but also in a way that I say I not only want to be out in nature, but I really want to be able to live in nature. And let me tell you a brief story what inspired me to actually get into that. So, as some of you might have known, we have been to the US last year in autumn, and we went on a lot of hikes. One of them was the Two Lake Wilderness, or the Alpine Lake Wilderness in the Cascade Mountains. Really beautiful place. I made a video about that one. I'll link it somewhere up here. And when we walked down from the Alpine Lake Wilderness, from one of the lakes, back to the trailhead, we met a gentleman that was a Mennonite. And he had his two sons with him. I think they were between maybe 10 years old. And the three of them were walking up to one of the alpine lakes there to camp there for several days. And he said their intention is to hunt there, but also to fish there. And for me, this was really impressive because this being out in nature and actually getting the food that you need, at least partially from nature, which increases the duration that you can stay out there, right? You're no longer reliant on bringing everything yourself, was a big hint for me that I want to start get into that stuff. As usual, with these things, everything needs a little bit more time. And yeah, then suddenly around the corner came a friend from the local church who offered me to take me out on a fishing trip. And they basically showed me the ropes yesterday, how to kill a fish, how to tie the knots. I mean, to be honest, I'm okay with knots, but there are still some things to consider when you tie a hook onto a fishing rod. And yeah, so those are the considerations I make for myself. Now, how will I continue with that? Well, first of all, you have to take a small exam in Switzerland, but it's basically one evening, and then you get the big fishing license, so that you're really allowed to fish in any body of water and on any legal fish. So we have some which are not or where we are not allowed to fish because of conservation issues. That makes sense. But it's basically the big license to fish anything that you legally can. And I will go ahead and do that. I'm not sure that I will still have that done in the next few weeks, but at least in the next 1 or 2 months, I wanna do that, get that license, and then I will try to get a little bit familiar with fishing. Now, I think there is a bit of a danger to get too much into the weeds with different fishing rods and making a whole hobby out of that. And I need another hobby as urgent as another hole in my head, so I really don't. But I want to have this base level skill, and I want to maintain this base level skill. Um, Maybe especially going after the type of fish that I would have most of the time when I spend yeah, time out in nature. So more towards the trouts and stuff that I would like or I would have in the mountains when I spend time up there. And yeah, that's my plan. For me, fishing was a really cool experience. I'm not yet familiar with all the technical terms, but we did not fish with the little swimmer in the water that goes down if a fish bites on it, but by throwing out the bait and pulling it back in and then throwing it out. And at a certain point, a fish catches onto it. So you have to try to imitate natural prey, and that was quite challenging, but it was very, very cool. I enjoyed it a lot, and yeah, I wanted to briefly discuss this with you. Now, again, I think it's a big part of self-reliance to be able to get your food, but also anybody who watches my videos also knows that I am very much emphasizing a community-based approach on preparedness. So I don't think that I will have to go out and actually fish in a worst case scenario, because we have a lot of farmers here, which are friends of ours, and are just better in providing protein, meat, groceries, however you want to call it. Um, but as said, as a side hustle, especially if we're out in nature for a little bit of time, it's a cool thing, and I really want to pursue it. Okay, yeah, that was a small update that this week didn't have to do much with mountains or something like that. But yeah, I'm really on this journey to get a little bit wider in the skill sets that I have, because I'm fairly good with anything that has to do with mountaineering and climbing, right? I'm not so good with, for example, fishing or bushcraft. And yeah, that's what I'm exploring right now. So yeah, thank you very much for watching this video. I really appreciate your time. Um, if you like that, then please give us a thumbs up. I'm also super interested in your experiences with fishing. So if somebody watches this video who has experience with fishing, I would really like to hear what you fish and what, yeah, just your experiences are. Okay, so thank you very much, and I guess I'll see you next time.